First contact with Joshua put.
Hello Earthlings, how you doing today? Welcome back to First Contact Radio. Glad as always that you could be here to share in this experience, whatever it may be. So today is the 26th day of the month, 26th day of September. You can see right here on the Jewish calendar, it is the 6th day of Tishri. Remember right up here, 1 Tishri, which happened last Thursday, was the first day of Rosh Hashanah being the beginning of the new year on the Jewish calendar. And then we are now 6 days into this. We could see that coming up this weekend, we have another day that is pointed out here, Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is the Day of Atonement, and it is a time 10 days after Rosh Hashanah for us to have an opportunity then to atone for whatever misdeeds or mistakes we have made. It's a time when we recognize, God is close. Let's call to God and let's, make amends for what we've done. Let's become at one with the universal plan and understand a little bit more of what that's all about. So this is a very important time of year according to the Jewish calendar here. And the importance of the Jewish calendar is this is the calendar that is most closely aligned with the Bible. And since we are told that we should be reading the Bible because of the significance that it has in our lives, it then makes sense that we would therefore be aware of the calendar and the timeline that the Bible moves according to, or is most closely aligned with it, and that being the Jewish calendar. So coming to the end of this Gregorian calendar month, September, but just beginning the new month of Tishri. From a planetary aspect, the signs we're looking at are the same and will be the same for a while. We have our sun sign is going to be in Libra, Libra being an air sign, all about learning to balance things out. That's why you have the scales here. We use air in order to help us balance. Air in the tarot cards is represented by the suit of swords. Take the first letter from swords away, you're left with words. So air is represented by words or by actions. Okay, words or actions. So what this is saying is that we want to use air to help balance ourselves out. Or we could substitute the word air for words and actions, and it makes sense as well. We use our words and our actions to balance ourselves out. We do so by making sure that we say things and we do things to help us, and we avoid saying things and doing things to hurt ourselves. And that's how we bring ourselves in balance. And of course, the universe has its own way of balancing things out. So even if we don't take it upon ourselves to do it in the way it needs to be, the universe will certainly take care of that for us. There is no doubt to that at all. Okay, and our moon sign is the same as it was yesterday and will continue to be for another day, and this is a fire sign. This is Sagittarius. Sagittarius, the fire sign. Fire flickers, fire moves. Fire represents our ideas. It is represented by the idea or the symbol of wands. So when we see a wand, wand represents creativity. You wave the wand, you get some creative idea in your mind, you wave the wand, and you manifest that which your creative mind has wanted to manifest. The wand is just a tool or an agent through which this creative imagination is being expressed. And we're just thinking it and we're manifesting it. So we're using our ideas, and in this case, we're using the fire to balance out and help us to understand the true nature of our lives is spending time both on the land and the water, to be balanced between the physical world and the fluid world, to have that balance so we understand what we experience here on the earth is simply the condition of being here on the earth. No more, no less. But what we experience in the spirit world is different than being here on the earth. Okay, so here's our moon sign right here. Here's our sun sign right here. If you just look at this, this is like a clock. All of these symbols in here are moving counterclockwise, okay? Moving counterclockwise. So this whole section here of Libra, you could see that there's a little section marked here, a bigger line, another bigger line. Each one of these represents 10 degrees, 10 degrees, 10 degrees. So the whole house is 30 degrees. So we could see our sun right here. This is a symbol for the sun. The sun is at 3 degrees, 44 minutes of Libra. Okay, and we could see right here, 3 degrees. It's just barely in. This is how you read this. And so it has to go all the way to the end of the 30 degrees before it moves on to the next sign. So you could see we are right at the beginning of this energy for the sun. So we have a ways to go. We're going to be focusing on this idea of karmic balance for a period of time. And the moon sign, yesterday it was right here at the beginning. Now it's progressed quite a bit because the moon moon goes through 2.5 signs every period of time. It moves a lot quicker. Okay, the moon moves a lot quicker than the sun, so it'll go through, and every 2.5 days it's going to change into the next sign. All right, and then of course we see all of the other different planets and where they're at, and we can see if there's anything of its significance. Aries is always important. Aries is the leader, the beginning sign, and here it is connected with Uranus, unexpected changes. So it shows us that we're leading, we're moving forward along this path, but expect the unexpected. Expect the unexpected as we're moving forward. Neptune right here wants us to take a new perspective. Neptune says take a new perspective in regards to Piscean energy, waters, feelings, emotions, what's going on. Okay? Because all of this is simply just a guide. It's just simply a guide to help us understand more of the energy that we're dealing with on each and every day. Because we are dealing with energy. Okay, so the point is understanding what is this. So we go out into the world. What are we dealing with today? Well, in addition to these energies that are coming from planetary and star-like sources, we have the energies here on Earth. And down here on Earth, we have a lot of, certainly here in America, we have a lot of confusion at this moment in time. A lot of fighting is taking place between different groups of people over different ideas. The biggest fight that we're aware of publicly right now has to do with what's going on in the NFL. And that's grabbed the attention of so many people because the story has taken up the news cycle on all of the mainstream networks. And so people think this is all that is happening in the world. Now, to some, you may say, well, this is not important, what's going on with all of this kind of incidents. But I tell you, it is important because these are social issues that are taking place and is something that has needed to be worked out for a long while. We should, as human beings, be getting along with each other. Men and women should be getting along with each other better than we do. People of different races should be getting along. People of different creeds should be getting along better than we do. But we have so much fighting going on and on and on. This situation with the NFL is just a symptom of that fighting. And it's a fighting that's dealing the issues of racism. Now, I truly believe that what's going on is a bit misguided in their approach. I understand that there are those who feel slighted in the NFL by certain conditions, but they are very misguided in the way they are doing things. You know, perhaps there is something, and I played football and sports for a long while, so I can put myself in this category of understanding or certainly feel that I have the right to say this, but the idea of the dumb jock is alive and well in the NFL because there's a lot of really uninformed dumb jocks. They don't know really what's going on. They don't understand the true history of what's taking place in the world or even the current understandings. You see, all of this kneeling down at these games, this stemmed from an incident with Michael Brown where they say hands up, don't shoot, and the cop shot him. Well, that's not what happened at all. That's a lie. That's a lie that the racist blacks chose to propagate, because that is not what the court findings, what came out of the whole incident. What came out was the officer was innocent, and that the officer was innocent because Mike Brown had charged the officer, tried to take his gun. If you look at the other incidents where there were crimes that took place, they were all pretty similar. Each one of these individuals, each one of these black men that got shot because they were doing something stupid. They all have had criminal records. Sure, we can look at the outside face value and say, oh, these poor gentlemen, they were just hacked, unprovoked. It's not true. These gentlemen, in many cases, were bad guys, known by the police officers. And so because of this situation, because blacks only wanted to bond with these blacks because of their skin color, we now have a situation where good Americans are cheering for and standing for absolute thugs. Absolute thugs that should not be stood up for in the way that Americans are standing up for them. And that sparked this whole situation. And now you got dumbass athletes running out there on the field with their hands up, and the hands up don't shoot. That's not what happened, but they're too dumb to realize otherwise. Um, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You can't fix stupid, and there's a lot of stupidity in the NFL right now. A lot of racism in the NFL right now. And so they're doing a lot of virtue signaling as well. So this is a picture here, as you can see, of what happened on Monday Night Football last night. There's good old Jerry Jones, who wasn't going to participate in any of this stuff. He's kneeling down. He's got a look on his face that looks a little bit pained. Maybe Jerry doesn't like being there. Whatever the situation that brought them there was a tremendous amount of boos, and just like other teams, there are a great number of fans who say they're going to be swearing off this team for the rest of the season. Probably with good riddance, because this NFL has gotten to be out of control. Out of control. Here's a question for you, NFL. You keep talking about equality. What about equality within your league? What about a little bit more diversity in your league? 80% blacks? So you got 80% blacks in your league. That's not diversity. That's not diversity by a long shot. So what needs to happen is you need to put more whites in the NFL, maybe a few more Asians, certainly more Hispanics. Okay, you need to make some changes, NFL, because right now you are not doing the right thing. Now, there was somebody who did the right thing, and that was this gentleman right here, Alejandro Villanueva. He was an Army veteran. He served as a Army Ranger. And when it came time for the national anthem, he was out there holding his hand over his heart, standing there. He himself is definitely a hero. You can go and find examples of him online. I posted some up at my Twitter feed, which you can find either at First Contact Now at Twitter, or just go straight to the website, firstcontactradio.com. You'll see the stories, you'll see links, and what you have is this guy here, this gentleman, Alejandro, went out and stood and hand over his heart and showed respect for the flag. After the fact, he did an interview after the game, and he said that he was embarrassed by what happened, that he didn't mean to throw his team under the bus. Now, it was more of a lengthy interview than what was actually published, and so when you see his words, it kind of makes him sound out like he was really apologetic for this, like he did something wrong or bad. What ended up really happening was his coach, his idiot racist, dumbass coach, Mike Tomlin, decided that he was going to criticize the Army veteran for going out there. Said he wasn't a team player because of the way in which he behaved. If only he had known before he called this guy not a team player, that this guy pulled people out of gunfights in Afghanistan and other places where he was in battle. If he only realized this, but Mike Tomlin won't get it. He's a dumbass. He's a total dumbass. And not only that, you could see here confirmation of him being a dumbass by the fact that he held a event for Hillary Clinton at his home of Mike Tomlin, dumbass coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm sorry. It's no longer the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's now the Pittsburgh Kneelers, because they decided that they were going to stay in the locker room. And worse yet, afterwards, the coach decided to put the blame on somebody else. Mike Tomlin, you're a despicable, disgraceful human being. You need to go apologize to Alejandro, and you need to apologize to America for being a coward and then pushing your cowardice off on somebody else. Shame on you, Mike Tomlin, and shame on you, Pittsburgh Steelers. You could see there was a letter that came out from Ben Roethlisberger the other day claiming that this was a mistake and they won't do it again. Well, maybe this might be. Maybe some players had that moment where they realized what they were doing was not right. Actions speak louder than words, so this Sunday will be very telling this weekend to see how they behave. If they continue to behave in that same manner, then their words meant nothing. But if indeed they actually do go out and do what they say, then it's a different story. Okay? So I want you to read this story here. I think you might find it a little bit irritating to know that the NFL coaches are actually that horrific that they would behave like that. Now, the Super Bowl in the NFL has problems of its own that they try to hide up, and I wanted to bring this article to your attention. This was from the last Super Bowl. According to this article here, there were nearly 600 arrests at the Super Bowl for sex trafficking. Okay, so there's big money being made at the Super Bowl for things other than playing football. Law enforcement agencies in 17 states arrested nearly 600 people and rescued 68 victims of human trafficking during a sting in the lead up to Super Bowl, was it 49, 50? Police said during part of the National Day of John's sex trafficking sting spearheaded by the Cook County, Illinois Sheriff's Office. Okay, so people are getting arrested for Super Bowl. There was a whole lot of arrests last year in Houston, where the Super Bowl was. Was it Houston? A whole lot of arrests that were taking place. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention so you can further be aware of the fact that the NFL is not a scrupulous organization. They've gotten to be a very racist organization. It might as well be called the National Felons League, or I would say take the word national out and you can just might as well, since the league is so many black men, call it the Negro Felon League, because pretty much that it is. It's a league filled with Negroes, and the Negroes in the league are pretty much felons, you know. So I would say, oh, that's racist. How could you say it? It's the truth. Look at the rap sheets. Look at the records. You've got a whole bunch of players causing a whole bunch of crimes. Those are called felons. And they're black, so you call them Negroes. Oh, that's a bad word. Don't say that. It's almost as bad as the N-word. No, it's not. And speaking of the N-word, why do we give such high prevalence? Why do we put the N-word on a pedestal that we make it the biggest word and to represent the letter N? Shouldn't we have something better like nice? Why does it have to be the other word that we are not supposed to say? You know, we put on pedestals things that we don't like, and then we wonder why we get caught up in those things. I say we remove the N-word. I see that we make sure that nobody says it, not even people of color, because they should be the first ones to know not to say that. But that probably won't happen because you got a lot of dumb people out there that just continue to say and do a lot of dumb things. All right, switching gears a little bit because there are other things taking place in the world other than what's happening with the NFL. That is simply just one of the events to catch our minds and distract us in some ways from what's really going on. The Russian investigation. You know what they have found on the Russian investigation? You know the amount of collusion that they found? Zero. There isn't any. There is no Russian collusion between Donald Trump and the Russians. There was plenty of collusion between Hillary Clinton and the Russians. That's documented. She sold uranium to the Russians. She's had dealings with the Russians. Seth Rich, who was a Democratic DNC guy, he was a Bernie Sanders guy, then later did get hired by Hillary's campaign but never worked there because he was murdered beforehand. He is the one responsible for all of this information that was leaked out. Not hacked, but leaked out by Seth Rich. Not not hackers, but Seth Rich. And then you've got the Awan brothers case, which continues to expand. It right now one of the biggest cases of treason to ever take place in the United States of America is going on, involving the Awan brothers, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, as the circle of influence and investigation continues to grow. It involves Hillary Clinton. It involves the entire DNC. It involves Barack Obama. So there's a lot more going on. What I put up for you here, so you can check this out. This is the statement from Roger Stone to the House Intel Committee regarding Russian collusion. I'll just give you a little sample at the beginning. There's 47 pages here. It says, good morning, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Ranking Member, committee members of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence and staff. My name is Roger J. Stone, Jr., and with me today are my counsel, Grant Smith and Robert Bushell. I am most interested in correcting a number of falsehoods, misstatements, and misrepresentations, misimpressions regarding allegations of collusion between Donald Trump, Trump associates, the Trump campaign, and the Russian state. I view this as political proceedings because of a number of members of this committee have made irresponsible, indisputably and provably false statements in order to create the impression of collusion with the Russian state without any evidence that would hold up in the U.S. court of law or the court of public opinion. I am no stranger to the slash and burn aspect of the American politics today. I recognize that because of my long reputation and experience as a partisan warrior, I am a suitable scapegoat for those who would seek to persuade the public that they were wicked international transgressions in the 2016 presidential election. I have a long history in the business. I strategize, I proselytize, I consult, I electioneer, I write, I advocate, and I prognosticate. I'm a New York Times bestselling author. I have a syndicated radio show and a weekly column, and I report for Infowars.com at 5 o'clock Eastern every day. While some may label me as a dirty trickster, the members of this committee could not point to any tactic that is outside the accepted norms of what political strategists and consultants do today. I do not engage in any illegal activities, and on behalf of my clients or the causes which I support, there is one trick that is not in my bag, and that is treason. All right, that is all I'm going to read to you because, as I said, it's 47 pages, and you're going to need to read this on your own. But again, you will find throughout the course of this, the amount of collusion between Donald Trump and the Russians is nada, zilch, none. Okay, so when you hear people like Adam Schiff out there crying about collusion, collusion, just send Adam Schiff some love because he obviously is a misguided man that is lost and confused, and he's just crying like all the rest of them. Poor, poor, poor piece of scared humanity. All right, so we're gonna switch gears one more time as the show wraps up today. It's a half-hour show, Monday through Friday. I try to catch a lot of different subjects. I hope to capture the spirit of what is going on with the people so we can kind of decipher and look at the bigger picture rather than getting caught up in the smaller picture. The bigger picture is always that we live in a world that is able to be influenced by thought and imagination, and when we allow ourselves to really look at the world and then be from a clear-minded perspective, we can make and apply the changes we want. The challenge is that we live in a world where there is so much going on, so many distractions, that we aren't always able to stay focused and clear, and part of that is the intention of those who are in power. And I'm not talking about Trump or the administration. I'm talking about those who are behind the scenes, those who are part of the deep state, the mechanism at work in order to keep us from really connecting. Well, we have the mechanism in place to connect us, and that is the spiritual realm, the spiritual connections. There is a body of work. It's called the Krybalion. I've talked about it a number of times. It is certainly one of my favorites, and it really describes the systems in place for being able to go ahead and move through life efficiently. I'm just going to go over the basics points of this, of the Hermetic philosophy. There's 7 basic principles. I'm just going to rattle those off, and then you can go ahead and you can take it from there. But what we have is, well, let me just scroll down so you could see here. Let me just scroll. There we go. The first principle, like here we go. 7 principles right here. The principles of truth are 7, but he who knows chess understandably possesses the magic key, before who all touch, all of the doors of the temple fly open. The Krybalion. The 7 Hermetic principles upon which the entire Hermetic philosophy is based are as follows. First is the principle of mentalism. The principle of mentalism. Principle of mentalism says that we live in a mental universe. We live in a mental universe, which means we're in one giant mind. A giant mind, okay? Second principle is the principle of correspondence. It says that even though we are part of this large mind, or because we are part of it, we can communicate with all aspects of this. The smallest part of the mind can correspond to the largest part of the mind, and vice versa. Correspondence, think of when you write a letter, you correspond with somebody else, okay? So we have the ability to correspond, to communicate with our higher aspects. The principle of vibration, principle number 3, tells us that everything within the universe vibrates. Everything moves. Nothing is stationary in and of itself. Everything is vibrating. And in this vibration, things are alive with the vibration of life within them. And this vibration is very important. And when we understand that everything moves and vibrates, it helps us to understand the aliveness of all things around us, and how the aliveness is really affected by our thoughts, which go out and affect this body of aliveness is there, this vibration. We mold it with our shapes. The next principle is polarity, that all things have poles. So, and 2 things like hot and cold are 2 extremes of the same pole. Just imagine something moving back and forth, okay? You got the middle position, which might be, lukewarm, and then you go cold as you get one side, you got hot as you go to the other, but it's the same pole. It's the same idea, just 2 different ends or spectrums of the same energy. Next one is the rhythm, that not only are there poles, but things move back and forth in rhythm. Life is like a dance, and as we understand the rhythm of things moving back and forth, we are able to get in flow with that rhythm. The principle of cause and effect says whatever we cause has an effect. When the wheel or the pendulum swings this way, it's going to swing back. As we are moving through life, if we understand how life is moving, we understand when it's moving towards us in a way that's going to knock us over, we can step aside so it doesn't hit us. We learn to dance with life and we move with life. So we understand how we can move in accordance and be balanced with the principles, be in synchronicity with the rhythms of life, understand the cause and effect so we move out of the way when we need to and move with the energies when we need to. And finally, the last principle is the principle of gender. The principle of gender is there's tons of confusion right now because we have a society which is teaching young people that there's multiple genders. There's two genders, male and female. That's it. If you understand the principles of how male and female together, how positive and negative or, energies work and interact, that's it. So these are the 7 principles, and we apply these principles in our lives to all the things that we're doing, and we get better and better. We start to be able to see the bigger pictures of what's going on in life. Okay? So let's just take a moment and let's just think about the day. Heavenly Father, Heavenly Mother, please guide our steps this day, guide our thoughts that we might find the truthfulness and clarity that is required as we move through this path of life this day and all days forwards. Amen. So as we go out into the world, let's just go out there. Let's just send positive energy. Let's just keep feeding the positive so that we can make the positive change we want. That's it for today. I'll be back tomorrow. Have yourselves an awesome day. I love you. Keep loving each other, and I will talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.